Hi, welcome to Gotham Sound TV. That's what we're calling it, right, Joe? Yeah, that's what we're calling it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about boom poles. Sorry, I'm going to be talking a lot to Joe because he's actually behind the camera today. So we're going to talk about boom poles. I'm Nick Huston, and today's really just to, not really to talk too much about booming techniques. There's a huge treasure trove of boom stuff. It's really to talk about the poles in general, what's out there, how you would select. Is everything okay? How you would select your own. How you would select your pole, and yeah, various uses, all that fun stuff. So as you know, as I'm sure everybody knows, the boom pole is designed to get a high-grade microphone as close to your talent as possible without being in the shot. So when you started out doing sound, it used to be that they would have to hide a microphone in a plant, aka a plant microphone, to get it close, and then they figured out, hey, if we just suspend it over their head, you know, this up here is out of frame. So hence the boom pole was born. You can make a boom pole out of just about anything. In my younger days at NYU, they actually had window washing poles, and that was what they used as boom poles, which was kind of disturbing. But it worked. We made it work. I've used broomsticks. I've used light stands, and but the actual boom poles, as you see, kind of a selection back here, are generally a lot better. And here's why. So boom poles are designed to be light. They're designed to be rigid, so they don't bend and flex as much as, say, a painter's pole would or a window washing pole. They're designed to be strong. So they don't snap like and they're also designed to extend so that you can get a little bit more distance than your traditional broomstick. So we'll just get into the different types of them. On the lower end, you have your aluminum poles. Aluminum poles are generally quite a bit heavier and not as durable as some of the higher end poles. So if we take a look, this is, not this one. No, not that. Joe, what'd you do to me, Joe? There we go. I told you I'd be talking to Joe. So this is a K-Tek Avalon aluminum pole, and it's pretty heavy. And because of its weight, they don't make it all that long, and also it's not quite as durable as the carbon fiber poles, which we'll get into. So this is a 9-foot pole, and it comes with a coiled cable inside. And if we get the close-up, this is a rear or a side exit XLR. So what's nice about this is it's got the cable inside, keeps it nice and neat, and then you can just plug into your mixer throughout here, so there's not a lot of gack going on up at that. So we see this fully extended. There we go. So yeah, there's a little boom demo we were doing. The handsome man in the middle is Lord Byron, who works in our accounting department and is also an accomplished actor in his own right. You can see him on all sorts of YouTube videos. So anyway, so that's what the aluminum pole looks like, fully extended. And if you take a look at the collars, they're aluminum collars as well. So this is a pretty inexpensive pole, and it's, to say that it's not as durable isn't really fair. It just isn't going to last as long as, say, some of the other poles, which people have for 10, 20, 30 years. So anyway, aluminum internal coiled with the side exit. This is like a $200 pole. So if you wanted to get something that's a little bit nicer, you could take a step up to a graphite pole. This is again by K-Tek. This is has a graphite. It has a graphite body, but it has similar aluminum locking collars. So it's a little bit heavier. It's lighter than the aluminum one. Still a little bit heavier than the carbon fiber version, which has really nice. And the locks are just not quite as smooth. So when you pull it out, it sticks a little bit, and you get that kind of grating noise. So again, these are not the high-end boom poles, so they don't come in as big a length, but if you just need a boom pole for, sit-down interviews or, or you can be reasonably close to the camera. This is one thing that happens with internal cable, by the way, is the internal cable can get twisted, so you can't close it up, and then you have to kind of spin it around and hope that you're spinning it the right way so that the cable kind of unkinks itself. So anyway, this is the Avalon Graphite. Do we see this one fully extended? Let's see it fully extended. Hooray! Oh yeah, and with a lighter pole, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff. You can do one-handed booming. You can do what is that? That's like the crane kick booming from Karate Kid. Anyway, one interesting thing before we get into carbon fiber, because this everything else here. Let me move this out of the way. Is carbon fiber, and carbon fiber is really the creme de la creme of the boom pole world. So I was talking to a boom operator named Paul, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name because I will butcher it. And I'm Paul. I'm sorry if you're watching. Not Paul Padilla. Anyway, and he was talking about his booming technique and his thoughts on booms, and two things that he said that really stuck with me is, number one, he thinks it's very important to be flexible. So, as the boom operator, you're employed by the sound mixer, and if the sound mixer has a certain way they like to do things, whether it's internal coiled boom poles or not internal or non-coiled boom poles, or keeping the transmitter by the microphone, which some people do. It's important just to be flexible, because ultimately, they're responsible for the sound, and as a boom operator, your job, and the most important job, is to get the mic in the right place. So he thought it's very important to be flexible with your preferences, and then booming is kind of this instinctual thing where it's very important to be practiced and not thinking about it, because you really have to be in tune with where the microphone is and comfortable with the pole you're using. So it really is not, you should be using whatever it is you feel comfortable with so that you can get the microphone where it needs to be, when it needs to be, and not have to think about it, because when you think about it, then you're behind. Okay, so anyway, carbon fiber poles. So we at Gotham mostly stock PSC, VDB, K-Tek, and Ambient. Those are the big sellers here. I do want to show off actually one thing that I found in the kind of old dregs. This is an old Panamic pole. It's aluminum. It's surprisingly light. And as you can tell, it's pretty tall. So you're not going to shove this in a Pelican case. But you can get it. It also has some weird air suction going on. But you can get it pretty long. And this pole's been here at least 10 years. But Panamic poles are very, very difficult to find. That was the other thing Paul said. Paul was talking about that there's no right way to boom. It's just whatever your technique is your technique. So if you're feeling like you want to have, like you do it, like to do it like this, and this is comfortable for you, which is kind of the over-the-head method, that's great. If you're one of these people, God bless you. It seems like it'd be really difficult. But whatever works for you so that you get your instincts, so that your instincts are sharp and you can follow it, go for it. All right, anyway, sorry for the trip down memory lane with Panamic. Let's talk about PSC. So this is a PSC Elite pole, carbon fiber, so it's much lighter, better locking collars than the Avalon series, and this one has a bottom exit coiled cable inside. So this is the medium, and if we show you the shot of how long it gets, let's see how long it gets. So it's about 9 feet right there. The nice thing about the PSC is it's carbon fiber, and it's pretty darn serviceable. So this has a little top that comes off, and you just drop your coiled cable or your cable in and down there, And there's no muss, no fuss, no soldering or anything like that. So it's really pretty convenient. Now, when we start talking about carbon fiber poles, we're increasing the price substantially. So as we talked about the aluminum poles, where that's in like the $200 range, a carbon fiber pole is going to be more in the $400 and up range, depending on what kind of features you get. So with a pole like this, it's about 9 feet. It's a pretty, it's nice is that it collapses pretty small. So Joe did some painting, so we can see that this one collapses to just over 2 feet. And what's nice about this is it kind of goes anywhere. It goes in most Pelican cases, and we do have a size chart on our website, which we'll put up a link for afterwards. And then, it gives you enough length where you can get over a cameraman if you're doing E&G stuff, reality work, and what have you. So a 9-foot pole is pretty long. It's long enough, but it's not too long so that you can actually take it with you. So anyway, that's PSC Elite. Moving on to we're going to do K-Tek next. Okay, so this is one of their smaller poles. K-Tek has a bunch of poles, so this is just their smaller poles come with this nice foamy grip on it, which is nice. So this is their classic carbon fiber. Much nicer locking collars. Much nicer locking collars. With boom poles, generally speaking, you shouldn't have to undo them. You shouldn't have to go like this. If you're going like this, there's a problem with the boom pole. Or eventually, if you unscrew it too far, you're just going to wind up pulling it out. So if it's not coming out, don't try and force it, because really, if you do wind up pulling it off, and when I used to teach, there were a few times where kids would just pull them out, and it was just like, wow, that really took you a long time to do that. Anyway, so yeah, this is the K-Tek classic carbon fiber pole. This is one of their smaller poles. This is about 7 feet. It's not fully opened right now because I broke it, apparently. You really just don't want to do that. And so there is the K-Tek classic carbon fiber that I'm using. 6 feet is pretty short. It's pretty short. You could use it for E&G work. It's probably better for doing sit-down interviews and things like that. But now I'll show you the slightly longer K-Tek pole. So this one, we can throw up the picture of that one while I bring it out. So you can see this is a long pole. This is like a 20-foot pole. This is one of those like feature poles where you're way back behind the camera and there's just no room to do anything, and you use this. So interesting thing about this pole is, first of all, booming is really hard work. Like even just taking those pictures, I still feel it in my back. So it pays to either boom a lot and keep those muscles in shape, or to actually work out, which I don't. So hence why it was really difficult to take those. So this pole has a straight cable through it. So instead of having, where all the other ones were kind of nice and there was a little side exit on the bottom, this one has a cable running down the bottom. So when you put the pole out, the cable's going to start to feed through. So why you might want to do this as opposed to the coiled cable, and I'm just going to bring a coiled cable out for show, is that a coiled cable makes a little bit, that's not fair. A coiled cable, when you're moving it fast, can make a little bit of noise. And so, like if I extend this more, it's making the cable inside more and more taut, and you can actually hear it jiggling on the inside. So with a straight cable, you're not going to hear that because it's just resting on the bottom of the pole. There's no tension, or at least there shouldn't be tension. If there is tension, you're doing something horribly wrong. So some people like the straight cable. It's basically the same thing as doing the straight cable on the outside. It's just on the inside, so you don't have to manage it or put any tape or bongo ties or anything like that. So that's the K-Tek big pole. So next we'll get into our ambient options. Okay, so the first ambient option is the QX series. So this is their lighter boom pole. And this one's pretty long, so if we want to show up the picture on that, we can do that. Okay. Who? Corey? Okay, hi Corey. I'm not going to do that on air, but thank you. Anyway, so this is the QX boom pole. It's a little bit lighter. It bows a little bit more than the other one, but it is designed, you can get it with the internal cable, internal coiled boom pole with a bottom exit. And you know, they're designed for ENG stuff. So that's the QX. The next kind of step up, more feature poles, and actually here, Joe, just get a quick shot of these collars. There we go. So those are the collars on that. And then you notice the next version, which is the QP, or quick pole, the collars are pretty significantly different. Okay, so this is more just designed to be light, light and quick. And then these ones are a lot more rugged. So this is the QP. And this one, again, like the K-Tek, has the flow-through cable on the bottom. Okay, and this pole, you'll also notice, compared to the quick pole, is a much smaller pole diameter-wise. So it feels a little bit nicer in my hands, and this is why it's a more expensive pole. It's a little bit more rigid, and it's purple on the top. That's how you can tell the difference, really. Is one's purple, one's blue, and then the high-end ambient is the QS pole, okay? And that's black at the top. And so this is their, it's got you know, similar collars to the, what is it, the QP pole, but the carbon fiber is a little bit lighter, it's a little bit more rigid, and it's really just a pretty tough pole. Can we see a shot of that one, Jared? Okay. So yeah, so it's a pretty, and it's also heavy as heck. We did all this with the new, what is it, the new Rycote 416 Zeppelin on the end. And even though it's pretty light, like it's probably less than a pound, at the end of a 20-foot pole, it feels pretty tough. Okay, and then the last pole that I'll show you, and this has really been the, this was the inspiration for doing something about boom poles, is that this pole is kind of, it's brand new. Never before seen. This is by VDB. And a lot of people thought that VDB went out of business. They did not go out of business. You just have to order it direct from France, which we do. So they've come out with a couple of things. They've redesigned their carbon fiber to make the pole stiffer. It's still pretty darn light. This is the large, so this is a 13-foot pole. So they've redesigned the carbon fiber to make it a little bit more rigid, so we can see the shot of that and its rigidity. There we go. So that's that. Other things that it has, first and foremost, they call it the QT because it is a quarter turn to lock and unlock. So if we look at the locking collar, quarter turn, and then it locks and unlocks. So that's really new, whereas you can't, you know, the old poles you used to sometimes have to just keep going and going and going, which you shouldn't have to do, but with this you don't have to. The other interesting thing about the VDB, which they've had this for a while, is they've got all these different color markers on every section. So you've got blue, white, red. So you can fully collapse the pole and then after a rehearsal and know exactly where you were because, yeah, oh yeah, I was extended 3 sections and then also, you know, went out to blue or went all the way or was halfway. So it's an interesting way to remind yourself as to how to do it. So yeah, so these guys are brand new. They're very, very light, and they're similar to the PSC in that the top cap just comes right off, and you can thread a cable through there whether it's coiled or straight or what have you. So pretty simple and easy to use. A lot of people were big VDB fans back in the day, and then they kind of disappeared for a while because of whatever their distributorship was in the United States. So, that's a lot of boom pole stuff. When selecting your boom pole, you want to think about how you want to use it. If you're a feature person, a longer pole is going to be better for you. So you can kind of cram yourself into a corner or give yourself maximum flexibility. If you're somebody that's doing documentaries, a lot of times being light and flexible is really important, and clean. So you're going to want something that collapses small enough so that you can bring it on a plane or ship it somewhere without having to use a giant boom pole case. And you're probably going to want an internal coil. If you're if you're buying something that's going to be fixed and is going to sit somewhere for a few years, or you only use it in the studio, then you may just want to buy something that's aluminum. A cable inside helps keep things neat, but you maybe don't necessarily need that. So there's a lot of different applications, and you can spend a lot of money, or you can spend a little bit of money, but you just want to make sure that you find the right thing for you. Now, the other thing that I will say, and this was the other inspiration for doing this, is that you got to take care of your boom pole, because if you are spending, and some of these poles are upwards of $800, right? So if you're going to spend $800 on a boom pole, you want to make sure you take care of it. And one cool thing that K-Tek did that I really like is they came out with something called Boom Shine. And it really is just something to clean and shine your boom pole. And they're coming out with something else to clean and grease the knuckles in the boom poles. But for now, it's all about boom shine. So it comes with a little cloth, and you just literally just shine away the dirt that's on the pole. So anyway, so that is all about boom poles. Thank you so much for watching. And next week, we are going to have a demo on the Soundfield VR recording microphone with Jose Frias and Laura Cunningham. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter. You can watch this and other videos at Vimeo, on Vimeo and YouTube. And if you have any ideas for anything you'd like to see us do, with the exception of dancing, because I'm a terrible dancer, you can email us at info@gothamsound.com. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.